Hola, amigos. This is Mark here. This is part one of the deep dive of my 2024 500 EXC build. And to keep this a little bit shorter, I thought maybe in this video I would just cover the front of the bike and then I can follow up with some other sections. So just jumping right into it, and this is like a Taco Mike video. I'll start with the wheels. Wheels are stock. I have never had a problem with stock KTM wheels if you maintain them. I have swapped out the stock TKC tires for Moto Z Tractionators. I believe that this is the ST on the front, and it has a 4 mil ultra heavy duty tube in it. There is mousse lube on the outside of the tube. There is the tire patch stuff, which I can't remember the name of at the moment, that is on the inside of the tube. And that, for me, is about the perfect setup for cross country. Never had a flat in many, many years of running that configuration. The fork guards are, I think it's called Polosport. They're full wrap. I just really wanted to get rid of the orange there, so I have those on. I have an Ackerby or a Service cover on the very bottom on this side. On the opposite side, I have a pretty generic aluminum billet brake guard. I'm not a huge fan of carbon fiber for guards. I know it's light, I know it's trick, but every time I hit a rock, it ends up looking like crap, and it just offends my vanity. Let's see, going up further, I've got the Dingo polycarbonate fork guards. Again, instead of carbon on that, also saves a little bit of dinero. And then we get to the rally fairing, and I'll zoom in a little bit on this. I went with a Raid Garage fairing. I struggled a bit on what fairing to use. On my existing 2015, I have a highway dirt bike tower, which is not the greatest looking, but it's very functional. It is mounted to the triple clamps. They don't support that any longer. I looked at the Yencro originally from the vendor in Australia, had difficulty with communication there. I was thrilled to see that Taco Moto was starting to offer those, but it didn't seem like they were quite ready to market those, and I just decided that I kind of really like the space that's provided in an overall tower for the kind of off-road navigation stuff that I do. So I went with the Raid Garage. Again, I have that on my 890. It's a beautiful system and super lightweight. So it attaches to the frame via a clamp mount. 3 bolts here is what attaches the carbon. And then what you can't see very well is the clamp system that goes around the pivot here, and then it bolts to the frame in the back, and then it has a pinch on the other side that holds it all in place. Very secure. As you can see with this, there is really very few wires that are exposed at all. It has some cable management for the brake line, and I'll show a little bit more of that here in a minute, that goes in for the speedo cable. Had to rig up some guides for the clutch cable as well. I've done that on other bikes. It seems to work out fine. In terms of the tower itself, there is an access compartment, which is super convenient for getting to the wires and hooking things up. I took advantage of that to hook up the key. Key's a token, I suppose. All you're ever doing is really just buying yourself a little bit of time. I am going to put some security screws on this to perhaps just slow things down a little bit, and then also use some loom tape so that it isn't quite as easy to unplug. Again, just it's a first line of defense. I would always carry a disc lock for motels and that kind of things. It has the KTM hard parts USB. It has a slot for the stock KTM TFT. And then this is what I run for navigation. I run DMD or Gaia or a whole lot of other things for different kinds of navigation. 3D printed holder, which I'll show you another picture of here in a minute. And then it just has a combination of some RAM mounts that actually hold this very sturdily in place. It didn't go with the expensive DMD tablet. This is an Alcatel. I think it's an RT3. It has like 400 nits. It's not the greatest, but it's been pretty functional in bright conditions. And honestly, this is everything I use anymore. I no longer use any kind of garment at all. I've been able to completely adopt to this, and it is super resilient and has provided me a lot more resource than I could ever get just with a Garmin. The turn signals are Takamoto, so this is then integrated in with their switch on the bars over here. And then it is also integrated in with the Rad Garage lighting system. The overall Rad Garage system, I think I weighed all the components, and it was about 7.1 pounds all in. And the only thing I didn't include on that was the frame bracket. And the reason I didn't include that in the weight is because it also doubles as the base for the Scott mount. And given that I was going to run a Scott mount anyway, I figured, okay, I'm not going to include that in the weight. Now, a couple trade-offs there in terms of overall weight. The stock headlight assembly is about 2.2 pounds, if I recall. And another way of kind of compromising a little bit on the weight is you can see I'm using the Reflex guards. They are an alternative to the highway dirt bikes, which I've used in the past. Two reasons for that. One is because I've just had some difficulty with highway dirt bike sourcing here lately. And second, I wanted something that would really take advantage of the BRP rubber submount. And with this cable tie-in on the Flex guards, it just gives you a lot more ability for the bars to move and not be locked up quite as tight by using the highway dirt bikes. Additionally, highway dirt bikes is probably at least 1.5 pounds heavier, so it's another way of kind of compromising on some of the weight. So, difference in weight, this is probably hanging 4 pounds out there, not including the tablet. It's on the frame, it's not on the bars. It feels pretty good in my very initial runs of that. Let's see, what else? I use the Takamoto accessory. Go to the other side. Off the ECU diagnostic port. I only have that running to one switch right here, and that right now is not connected to anything. It will be running perhaps some nav equipment on occasion or heated grips. But right now, the other USB on the other side, and then there's an integrated USB inside that comes out with a cable up top here to run the tablet. That all runs off the headlight power. And so these two lights run about 77 watts. I believe, according to some of Mike Spurgeon's videos, that the overall 2024 system will support up to 99 watts. So the two USBs, 5 volt, very, very small amperage, also run off that. And that's a feature of the Rad Garage system. That's nothing I did. They actually have a power takeoff that is built in that you can then just plug right into. Let's see, anything else on that? This also has a small bracket over here for different kinds of documents. Or I typically run extra power cables for the devices that I just put in there so I don't have to fish around and find them. Okay, so going back up to the bars again, the Flex controls, the RAM mount, typical, blanking on the name of the mirror system. Always use that. Never broken one yet in many attempts. I have the Takamoto Athena Get system, so I have the LED switch here for that, and then of course the Takamoto with the off. Really like that system. The Flex includes the one I selected includes the bar mounts here. I really like that just to keep the bars clean. And let's see, then I really want to swap out the start stop. I don't like this thing, but I just haven't done it yet. But as you can see, there is just really, this is clean, man. There is hardly any cables or anything in the way. Not a lot to distract you, not a lot to get hung up, not a lot to fatigue. One of the key things that I will need to play with in some testing is how to make sure that the cables that are off the head that turn receive the least amount of stress and flex. And one key to that is keeping them as close to the pivot point as possible. So I'm gonna have to observe this and decide exactly how I wanna tie these things in on that side and on the other side. Let's see, just to kind of finish off the rest of the front of the bike, I have the Empire billet guard. That thing, again, it's a tip I got off of Takamoto videos. It is so cool and so easy to put on. Then I do have the Molecule skid plate. I've always used the big EE guards, and so this was kind of a bit of a different adventure for me going with this. We'll see how that works out. I was a little bit concerned about total coverage, so I put the Acerbis plastic covers on there, you know, for whatever that's worth. So I think, let's see, is there anything else that I need to cover on this? Maybe not. I guess that is probably it for the front, and I will come back with a video on the next section of the bike.